What's up, guys? It's Toby Rosario, and today I'm super excited. I got Joe Dillon. We're going to really talk about how to scale a business, what it takes to scale a business to a seven-figure business, right? So I'm really excited to have him on today. He's from Tampa, Florida, and I want to thank Joe for taking the time out to do this, man.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, man. What's going on, man? How you feeling today?
I feel good, man. I feel good because I think you're going to provide value to not only me, to also to the people who are listening to this audio or watching the video. I think you do have a lot of knowledge in that. So for the people who kind of don't know your story, take us back to what you were doing before real estate, what made you want to get into real estate, and talk about that.
Yeah. No doubt, man. No doubt, man. I've always been an entrepreneur, bro. So like, but I went to college and I tried to do the job thing for like a year and a half, and it just like that's not where I needed to be. You know what I'm saying? I had two businesses by the time I was like 17 years old. So like basically I started flipping cars on the side of my job. Then I quit my job, and then through the partner that I was flipping cars with, I met the partner that I built the real estate company with. So, he had a wholesaling business, and, he was kind of just getting it off of the ground still. And, we ended up joining up, and we really started to work really work and mesh well together, as far as like different, professional strengths.
Right.
And, yeah, man, so we, that's how I got into it. We were, just going hard, you know what I mean? Like a lot of hustle. And, we were driving for dollars, like, doing some direct mail, a lot of cold calling, right? I remember back in the day, like, we were cold calling, like from our cell phones, single dialing. Like we were single dialing before we even knew about a freaking dialer. But yeah, man, so that, that's how I got into it. And yeah, man, the rest is history, man.
Let's talk about specialized scaling system. Let's talk about that. What do you think it takes? What do you need to have in place to go from 6 figures to 7 figures? What are the systems, processes, things like that? Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So basically, I'll answer this kind of in the form of a story. But what happened was, like I said, we had a lot of hustle and no systems, right? And like I said, we would be like single dialing from our phone, and we were using Zoho back in the day. Actually, even before that, we were using something called I think it was called High Rise, but it was like, yeah, it was just like no automations. It was just like nothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so there were like the systems in place, but they weren't like systems that we needed in order to really scale the business and understand the business. So basically what happened after that, we got smart and we hired mentors. We started reading certain business books and we really structured the business, right? Because before, like, we were kind of all doing everything, right? And there was not as much of division of labor.
Right.
So, once we started to put structure into the business, once we also started to target in DC, like where we were from, we were in the market that we were in, we started to also target. This is one method. We targeted development projects. We ended up making like a huge assignment fee that really helped us and able to, in order to like take a step back and really put structure to the business, really put good people into the business. And, we actually made a $300,000 assignment fee on one. And then what's crazy is the next month we closed a $240,000 assignment fee. And so it was nuts.
Are these strictly assignments? You didn't like close on them? You didn't double close? Strictly assignments?
Bro, literally they're assignments.
Wow.
That's how good of a relationship that like we had with our buyers at the time. Actually, I remember the buyer who was at our $300,000 assignment. That buyer, he was actually working in our office because we were out of WeWork at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So But anyhow, so what took us from 6 figures to 7 figures was structure, right? Well, one, there's different ways to do it, right? Because like we could have easily done the targeted approach where like, okay, let's focus on these 6-figure assignments. You know what I mean? There's different ways to do it, right? But what I specialize in is, and what my expertise is in, is building a real business with systems, with processes, with people, right? Getting out of the daily grind, the daily hustle of like trying to get your next deal and trying to get your next deal and trying to get your next deal. It's a fucking chase, bro. It's a chase. And we realized like, okay, we want to build a real business. We don't want to build, just we don't want to chase, you know what I mean? We don't want to be after that deal. So we put systems in place, and probably one of the biggest things, it's so simple, but probably one of the biggest things that will help investors scale from 6 to 7 figures is creating a plan for your marketing. Because the biggest reason that investors do not scale is inconsistent marketing. And a lot of investors are scared to invest into marketing, right? That's why, and I do coaching now, right? And I've been really helping my clients and students just fucking explode and succeed well. It's awesome. But the biggest thing is the marketing, right? I always tell people this: wholesaling is not a real estate business. It's not a fucking real estate business. It's a marketing business. It's marketing and sales. Okay. It's not like flipping homes, right? Like, you have to get a contractor. You got to know this, you got to know that. You got to go to Home Depot. You got to, you know what I'm saying? Manage the contract. Like, it's not a real estate business. It's a marketing and sales business. So, but the crazy part about it is like, there's so few people that actually have their marketing down on lock. And that's why, I feel like my services are so in demand because so few people truly understand marketing.
Yeah, to jump in there, I think I think it's from the marketing standpoint, where do you put your marketing dollars, right? And how do you track, or what you should be tracking? So talk about that a little bit. Where should people be spending their marketing dollars, and what should they be tracking?
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally, bro. So, in this day and age, I was talking on a live with my buddy Gabe Garcia. We're actually doing an event together, but I was talking with him, and like right now, the person who can generate the lead the fastest and the most cost effective is going to be the ones who can survive a downturn, right? Efficient processes with great people. That's what survives a downturn. So. Going back to your question, the marketing, you need to be refreshing. This is so basic, right? But if you're targeting niche lists, you need to refresh your lists as often as you possibly can, because you want to be the first person to call that probate. You want to be the first person to call that code violation, right? And there's whatever strategic ways you can use to get that, like hiring a VA and having them pull lists for you and have that whole process on automation, right? So that you're consistently funneling marketing, right? Funneling new lists into your system. And you're going to be some of the first people to get to these people, right? So, definitely that, right? Like niche lists, where they should also invest in Property List Manager to stack their lists, right? Because I recently did a case study with one of my clients, and about 70% of their deals came from a list with 2 or more motivations.
Right.
So 70% of their revenue came from less than 10% of their list.
Wow.
They had 120,000 records, and the all of the people that were on 2 or more lists, was only 12,000.
So what kind of marketing was he doing? Was he doing direct mail or cold calling, RVM? What was he doing in that particular case study?
Yeah, they were doing a combination of direct mail and then cold calling.
Gotcha. Okay. And as far as like KPIs, what should someone be tracking from the beginning stage? Like if they're a new beginner, someone, so you're speaking to someone who hasn't closed a deal, and then someone who's closing deals and is looking to stay consistent. What numbers or what KPIs should they be tracking?
Okay, so if they're closing deals and they're trying to stay consistent, like you need to know all right, on a large scale, your leads per deal. Okay. Your leads per deal. How efficient, and that tells you how efficient your processes are, right? So how good are your people on the phones, and how good is your marketing, right? So your leads per deal is going to tell you how many leads do I need to pump into my system in order to get a deal, right? That's the biggest KPI start to finish. That's like big overview, right? Even smaller than that is like, for example, excuse me, you can track interested leads per deal, right? So like, I differentiate leads and interested leads, right? Because a lead is anybody that comes into my system. An interested lead is somebody that calls in and says, basically, yes, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. I'm interested in an offer. I'm interested in selling my home. Basically, anybody that you go through the script with, that's an interested lead, And so I differentiate that very clearly and distinctly with my students, and they're able to get a very clear picture of like how well they're doing and what's going on, right? So, on a very broad sense, if your leads per deal, in a very competitive, highly competitive, saturated market, it might be, anywhere from, it highly depends, right? Because all leads are not created equally, but it could be anywhere from 70 to from 60 to 100, right? Now interested leads per deal, that could be anywhere from, 20 on the low end to 50, hopefully not anything more than that. Right. On the high end. And so, using those KPIs, you can kind of determine, all right, well, how much marketing do I have to do to get 50 leads, right? And so that you can kind of reverse engineer that and determine how much you need to spend in order to make 3 deals, right? In order to get 3 deals, and your average deal size, right? Definitely track your average deal size so you can, figure that out as well. And as far as marketing goes, you definitely need to be, all right, anytime you do any investment, as an investor, what are the main KPIs that you're tracking? Like as an investor, what are the main KPIs that you're tracking? ROI, right? And you want to track, as far as a marketing standpoint, your cost per lead. So how much does it take to generate a lead? And you add all these KPIs up, right? And it gives you the big picture, right? So again, ROI, and then your dollar amount, of course, right? How much did this campaign actually generate, right? And then you need to track your cost per lead. So if you track your cost per lead, you track how many leads it takes you to get a deal, right? And then you also have to factor in your dropout rate, right? So let's say you get 10 contracts, but only 7 close, which is normal, because of title issues, because someone they thought they owed 60 grand, but they end up owing 200 grand. I fucking hate when that happens, right? Things like that, right? There's a dropout rate. So you got to factor that in too. So if your dropout rate's 30% and your goal is 7 contracts, then you need to get 10 contracts, not 7.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So basically, it's basically all the pieces to the puzzle to give you the entire picture, the whole story of what's going on. That's the beauty of KPIs. So your cost per lead, and then how many leads does it take to get a deal, and then your dropout rate, right? And that'll give you the overall picture of how much do I need to invest into my business, and what is it going to look like after I invest this amount into my business.
Now,
You multitask.
as far as like marketing, this is the biggest, one of the biggest problems people have is choosing which marketing channel they should go with. Direct mail, I know it's very expensive. Cold calling, is it RVMs? How can someone determine which? I guess they would determine it on their budget, but what do you recommend for someone as far as picking the right channel that works for them? How would you determine which channel to approach?
Yeah, man, that's a phenomenal question. So it's all like, you kind of just have to step back. It's really simple once you step back and just analyze it. I think most people try to overcomplicate it, and most people are just in their own heads, and they don't take the time to take a step back and really understand their business. So basically what I mean by that is like, it's simple. Like you kind of play the cards where they lay. So what I mean by that is if you have a bigger, broader list, right? Then let's say like an owner-occupied list or like a large absentee list. I don't know, like one of those lists, right? That, maybe have 10,000 people in your county, right? Or 8,000, 12,000, 15,000, right? If you have that, I always encourage in this day and age, you want to do more of a cost-effective marketing strategy, one that's not going to take too much of your time, right? So what do I match that with? I match that with, again, I need something that's low cost, that doesn't take too much time, and ideally is a blast, right? So I match that with something like an RVM or SMS, right? Because it's a blast, it's not going to take my time, and it's cost effective. 2 cents, 3 cents, a cent and a half, per drop. So, so for my bigger, broader lists, I'll use a cost-effective marketing strategy. For my targeted niche lists, and especially my stack lists, I'll go all in on those. I'll cold call them, I'll RVM them, shoot them an SMS, you know what I mean? As well as send them mail as well. So I kind of go all in. That's why I say play the cards where they lay. Targeted niche lists, hit them from all angles, spend money there. Bigger, broader lists, still touch them, but do it in a cost-effective manner. And maybe you can even send these guys a piece of mail, but don't send it every month. Maybe you send it once every 3 months, right? So in that way, you really you're devising your marketing plan to where it's cost-effective, and it's also still remains effective.
Yeah. So as you're growing, what do you recommend your first hire? Like as you're growing the business, you're closing deals, who should be your first hire?
All right. So I have an entire roadmap, right? A delegation roadmap of who to hire and what stage of your business. Okay. So I'll go through them quickly. So the first, in the beginning stages, if it's just you or just you and a partner and you're grinding, and you don't have three months worth of expenses in your account, 3 to 4 months of expenses worth in your account. So basically, if your expenses are $5,000 a month and you don't have $20K in your account, you need to hustle, grind, and close deals, right? Revenue generation is your number one task. When you pass that, right, you can take a little bit of a breather, step back, implement some processes, maybe try to create this marketing plan that I'm talking about, right? Take a step back, create that marketing plan. I always say your first hire is a virtual assistant. You want the order in which you want to delegate, and this goes for any business. The order in which you want to delegate is you always want to delegate the lowest level tasks first that are time consuming. Okay. So anything that has to do with Excel, anything that has to do with list management, refreshing lists, marketing management, anything that has to do with tweaking the CRM or things like that, unless it's high level tweaking, right? Masterminding and planning on how to change your CRM. Sending out email blasts, right? The stuff that takes, that a monkey can do, right? That you don't want to do that shit. For real, stop doing, and everybody that's listening, stop fucking doing low-level shit right now. Stop right now. Because what that does, one, it takes your fucking time. That's the first and foremost. Two, you are not allowing yourself to elevate. Once you put yourself in the mindset where, hey, this is my time is worth more than this, boom. That's why I say a virtual assistant is your first hire, because you wanna train them in all the admin work of your business. Okay.
What about after that?
Okay, so after that, then you can hire like I don't know if you want to consider this a hire, cold calling, right? If you're doing cold calling, you want to hire out cold callers. Why? You can be on the phone for 2 hours without getting a lead. What does that mean? That's a low-level task. Another low-level task, right? So you delegate out cold callers. So VA and cold callers first. Then your first key hire is going to be your lead manager / acquisition specialist, whatever you want to call them, who's going to be taking your inbound calls, right? Who's going to be taking the warm leads, and really so you can really start to delegate that acquisitions process, because the acquisitions is obviously the most time consuming part of this business, right? It's basically the entire business. Depending on where you are, right? If you're in a primary market or a secondary market, in this cycle of the market where we are right now, it's going to be easy to sell a deal, right? If you're in a tertiary market, meaning, your population is probably less than 500,000 of the metro area, then it may take a lot more work to sell a deal, But back to what I was saying. So essentially, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about, Toby?
After the admin, lead manager.
What's that?
You said you would hire a lead manager / acquisition.
Oh yeah. Yep. Okay, thanks. So right back on it. So once you hire a virtual assistant, right? Cold callers, I usually go back to implementing and hammering the phones away. So you go back because your expenses are going to be a little bit higher now, and so and then you hire, once you have 4 to 5 months worth of expenses, then you hire your first acquisition specialist, take them through the training, right? And they're going to be answering the phones for you. They're going to be taking the lead all the way up pretty much, and until they close it, right? And you're going to be training them. I have a whole training regimen too on what to do with them when, and yeah, it's phenomenal. So
well,
go ahead.
I don't want to take much more. You're a busy guy here, so we're gonna pivot it here a little bit. Last couple questions here, and then we'll talk about your event that you're coming up. It's coming up next month.
Yeah, man.
So these are like non-related real estate questions.
I love it. Those are my favorite.
What's the best advice you ever received?
Oh, that's good. All right. So I'll tell you this. At the beginning of last year, I spent over $400,000 now. Wow. on mentorship, on education, on investing in myself or my business, right? Or my previous business. Spent collectively over $400,000. And so I'm a very big believer in mentorship. But it wasn't until I hired a personal mentor last year that my life completely transformed. And so essentially, like, he helped me really, really it basically introduced me to myself on a deep level, to where my self-awareness led to higher levels of self-respect. Those higher levels of self-respect led to me raising my standards. When I raised my standards, I realized that I was in an environment that did not serve me, right? And without getting too specific, I had a lot of trouble leaving that environment, right? And this is very common, right? And let's say you have, you know, you've seen it. You see this all the time in many different situations. I'm sure everybody has a bad environment that's tough to leave, right? You know, whether it's a boyfriend, a girlfriend, you know, a marriage, a boss, like whatever it is. So essentially, like the advice that it wasn't necessarily any like phrase, but basically like it was kind of a mentorship, but it was, it's kind of something that I say now. So essentially what it is this is what I tell my clients all the time. There's a price to pay for anything that you do. You're either paying money, you're going to pay with your time, you're going to pay with your energy, right? There's a price to pay for everything that you do. If it costs you your peace, it's too expensive.
Love it.
And that's the best advice I have. Like no one told me that actually. That's kind of like just, I tell my clients that, and I live by that now. But, you know, essentially like with everything that I went through in that personal mentorship, my mentor kind of really helped me form that principle for my life. And yeah, man, like as soon as I took that leap, you know, the universe just fucking rewarded the shit out of me, showered me with blessings. And not only that, I got the best blessing of all, which was inner peace and extreme levels of personal growth, which I'm obsessed with personal growth. So
awesome.
Yeah. I wouldn't even call it peace of mind. I don't know if I like that term, but I don't know. I'm really spiritual. So like, I don't know if peace of mind resonates with me. It's more just like internal peace. Like,
gotcha. Okay. What question you feel like they should be asking you, but they haven't asked, or they don't ask?
There you go. That's a better question. So, yeah, everybody asks, like, cause you know, I've had a lot of success in business, and one of my passions is, especially in this entrepreneur industry, this entrepreneur world, one of my passions, absolute passions, is like I love having people confront themselves like abruptly. I'm big on that as far as like why they're doing what they're doing, right? But you hear it all the time. It's so cliche, but like I like to go deep, like on a deep level, like why are you doing that? Like why, even on like a regular basis, like why did I not talk to that girl? Or why did I not say anything, right? Or why did I, you know what I mean? Like, like I've gotten to that level of self-awareness where like I'm consistently analyzing, I would say, well, not analyzing, but just being mindful, right? And I love that. And so I think that people ask me all the time about just business, right? Like how are you able to scale, right? How are you able to do this in your businesses, you know, at such a young age? But really what they should be asking themselves is like, okay, how can I be happy? How can I have peace? How can I have joy? Right? Because this world needs that nowadays, because people are becoming more stressed, more anxious, more worried than they have ever been as a collective, because there's, you know, we have so much coming at us now on a daily basis. We've reached a level of information overload that we've never experienced in the history of humanity, right? Or at least not to our knowledge. But there's so much stimulus, and I think like as a collective, we're still kind of figuring out how to cope with that. But right now, it's just causing people to be super unpresent. They're not present.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. So
I love it. No, you're right. I think it's not as self-aware as we're thinking, and I think you alluded to it. So let's talk about this event that you're holding next month. Talk about what the event is for, or what's it about, and who's it for, and why people should go.
All right, so I have an event May 10th and 11th here in Tampa, Florida. This is gonna be my third event. The past two were just phenomenal, life-changing events, like with amazing people. The quality, the caliber of people that I attract is just bar none. Like everyone, there's no egos in the room, right? Everybody is just real, vulnerable with their business. Like basically, okay, so before I go into that, I'll talk about what the event is. So the event is for active real estate investors. It's not for new investors, guys. So I know that there's gurus out there and there's events and coaches out there, like they just want your money. And I'm saying to you, like, hey, if you're new, don't come, right? Like I know literally almost every other coach or event out there, they're just like, yeah, if you want a ticket, here's your ticket, boom. But not me. I make sure that the caliber and the quality of people at this event is great, and that because we go over high level advanced stuff, and so it's going to go over their heads. So not for new investors. For investors, maybe doing a deal a month, 2, 3, 4, 5 deals a month. Even if you're doing 10 deals a month, you can still come to this event and get massive value. I'm going to basically be going through the entire operation of a 7-figure wholesaling business. We're going to be talking about how to structure a $1 million business structure, okay? What that looks like, how to structure your business, right? Data, KPIs, meetings. We're going to be talking about all the seats in the business and the roles and responsibilities of those seats, who to fill, how to fill them, right? We're going to be talking about the CRM. We're going to be talking about marketing. We're going to go deep into marketing and structuring the marketing plan to for a maximally cost-effective and effective marketing, machine that you can create for yourself in your own market. We're going to be talking about acquisitions, right? Lead management, scripting, closing over the phone, and how to become a master at it. We're going to be talking about dispositions, getting phenomenal cash buyers, how to sell your deals so that you are getting more out of your buyers, which is an art. So all in all, like hundreds of thousands worth of value. And then we're also going to be talking about delegation, right? Team building and the roadmap to that. And finally, we're going to be talking about finance and cash flow. And we also got a surprise topic that Gabe actually is going to talk about. And he pulled it out last time and people fucking loved it. It was gold. And that's going to be a little surprise.
Awesome.
So,
this is like high level stuff, guys. This is 7-figure high level stuff. So you guys should definitely check it out. If people wanted to get more information about it, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, man. So I'm on Facebook. You can look me up. Send me if you don't just friend request me, because I get a ton of friend requests and I'm just at the limit. Message me if I don't accept your friend request. Joe Dillon. Look me up on Facebook. Definitely go follow my YouTube channel. I am putting out, free content every week. And that is, so you can just search on YouTube, Joe Dillon Real Estate Coach. And then, or Joe Dillon Real Estate, I'll be the first one. And, go subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also Instagram, Joe Dillon Official is my Instagram name. Definitely follow me on Instagram. I put a lot of cool stuff out there too. And yeah, if you're interested, hit me up on any one of those platforms, mention this podcast. Definitely, if you're interested in coming to the event and ready to scale your business, definitely mention, this podcast, and I'll be sure to give you a homie discount.
Yeah, guys, I have the link below so you guys can check it out. Thank you so much, Dillon.
Yeah, man. It was awesome, brother. I appreciate it, bro.